Welcome, everybody, yet another episode of the Wrestling vs. the World podcast. If you're enjoying your day, sweet. If not, what the hell ever. It is time for yet another bonus episode of the podcast, because we've already covered the entire history of the Raw Tag Team Championships from 2016 up until 2024. Now we're going to go on the SmackDown side, from when the titles were introduced up until this recent rebranding to where it is no longer under that championship name. So in 2016, the WWE reinstated the brand split with the WWE Draft and created brand-exclusive championships. So while Raw retained what was originally the WWE Tag Team Championships with the penny design, later renamed the Raw Tag Team Championships, SmackDown would get their own Tag Team Championships after SummerSlam. Championships would be similar to the belts on Raw, but with the blue strap to coincide with the show's color scheme, and the brand would hold a tournament in the lead to Backlash to declare the inaugural champions. To get to the Backlash pay-per-view in 2016, the tag team of Heath Slater and Rhino would defeat the Usos in the tournament final to become the first ever WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships, or champions, and would hold the championships for just under 3 months. Get to December, at the TLC pay-per-view, and Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt of the Wyatt family would defeat Heath Slater and Rhino to become the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Now, despite Luke Harper not being part of the match, he was still technically part of the Wyatt family when it was a trio. He would be recognized as champion under the Freebird rule. For those who don't remember what the Freebird rule is, it's basically where an entire faction, any two members could defend a championship if there's a championship in terms of a tag team within a group. So everybody is recognized as champion, anybody can defend it. Well, this title run would only last around 3 weeks, as the American Alpha team, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, would win a fatal 4-way tag team elimination match on the December 27, 2016 episode of SmackDown to become the new champions. Now, around 80 days later, the Usos would dethrone American Alpha on the March 21st, 2017 episode of SmackDown, so about 2.5 months there. 4 months later, the New Day would defeat the Usos at the Battleground pay-per-view to become champions, and Big E, who was not part of the match when the title change happened, once again would also be recognized as champion during the Freebird rule, just like Luke Harper did with the Wyatt family at the end of 2016. The Usos would then regain the championships the following month during the kickoff of SummerSlam in 2017, only to lose them back 3 weeks later on the September 12, 2017 episode of SmackDown in a Sin City street fight. Then the Usos would win the championships back once again, but now for a third reign in the Tag Team Championship Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell, and then during this title reign they would actually turn babyface right after this. Now this Tag Team title run would last around 6 months, until WrestleMania 34, when the Bludgeon Brothers, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, having their names changed to Harper and Rowan now, would defeat the Usos and a New Day in a triple threat tag team match to become the new champions of WrestleMania. Now, you get a little bit after this. The New Day would win the tag team titles from the Bludgeon Brothers 4 months later in a no disqualification tag team match on the August 21st, 2018 episode of SmackDown. But then just less than 2 months later, The Bar, being Cesaro and Sheamus, would win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships on the October 16, 2018 episode of SmackDown, which at that point was billed as SmackDown 1000. The Bar would hold the titles for over 100 days until being defeated at the Royal Rumble by The Miz and Shane McMahon, who would then lose it to the Usos 3 weeks later at the Elimination Chamber. The Usos would manage to successfully retain their tag team titles at WrestleMania 35 in a fatal 4-way tag team match, but then lost them 2 days later on the April 9, 2019 episode of SmackDown to the Hardy Boys. Unfortunately, this title run would end about 3 weeks later due to Jeff Hardy having a legit knee injury that needed surgery, so therefore the championships would be forced to be vacated. The following week, on the May 7, 2019 episode of SmackDown, Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan, sometimes still known as Rowan, would defeat the Usos to win the vacant tag team championships and would hold them for 2 months until they were defeated by the New Day at Extreme Rules in a triple threat tag team match, which also included Heavy Machinery being Otis and Tucker. Now, originally at the time, Kofi Kingston, who was WWE champion during this time, was not recognized initially as tag team champions while working with the New Day, because the tag titles were won by Big E and Xavier Woods, but then later on, he would be recognized as part of this because of the Freebird rule. So technically, Kofi Kingston was recognized as a double champion. Now, the Revival would dethrone New Day 2 months later at Clash of Champions in September, but would then lose them back to the New Day a couple months later on the November 8th, 2019 episode of SmackDown. And during this time, Xavier Woods would be credited as champion due to the Freebird rule, despite being injured during the time of this title change. So back when Kofi and Big E won the titles after Kofi lost the WWE Championship. 3.5 months later, The reformed tag team of The Miz and John Morrison would defeat the New Day at the Super Showdown event in Saudi Arabia to become new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Titles would change hands a little while later on the April 17, 2020 episode of SmackDown when Big E, Jey Uso, and The Miz in a standard three-man triple threat match would go for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and Big E would win on behalf of the New Day to win the championships for their 6th reign overall so far. And just like earlier, as mentioned, Xavier would once again be credited as champion despite still being injured during this period, but was still recognized as champion due to the Freebird rule. 3 months later, the thrown-together tag team of Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro would defeat the New Day at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules in July in a tag team tables match to become the new tag team champions, but would then lose them to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods of New Day on the October 9, 2020 episode of SmackDown, which was part of the draft. However, this time Big E would not be recognized as champion because that exact same night, both Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston would be drafted to Raw, and Big E would be stuck on SmackDown. So therefore, Kofi and Xavier would be recognized as champions, but Big E wouldn't because of the brand split and keeping them from each other. So Big E was no longer part of the New Day at this point. Now, 3 days later, I mentioned this on the Raw Tag Team Championship part of the episode, or from last time. 3 days later, on the October 12, 2020 episode of Raw, the New Day and the Street Profits were forced to exchange championships due to the draft, with the Street Profits being on SmackDown with the Raw Tag Team titles, and New Day on Raw with the SmackDown Tag Team titles, so this new reign happened with the titles being forced to be exchanged. Street Profits would hold these championships for just under 3 months before being defeated by the tag team of Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, or Robert Roode, on the January 8, 2021 episode of SmackDown for the belts. The titles would later change hands to Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania Backlash in May, only to then be won by the Usos 2 months later at the Money in the Bank kickoff. This would be the start of the Usos' long 622-day run as SmackDown Tag Team Champions, an overall tag team title run that surpassed the New Day's Tag Team Championship run that ended in December 2016 on the Raw brand. So this would be the record-setting tag team title run. And now we get to the part where we cover the same similar path of what we talked about for the Raw Tag Team Championship match, or Tag Team Championships, not that long ago. On the May 20th, 2022 episode of SmackDown, the Usos would defeat RK Bro in a winner-takes-all match to retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships and win the Raw Tag Team Championships to make them unified WWE Tag Team Champions. Despite this, the belts were still recognized as being separately active during all of this. The Usos would then lose the titles in the main event of WrestleMania 39 Night 1 to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who would then lose it 5 months later at the Payback pay-per-view to Finn Balor and Damian Priest of the Judgment Day in a Steel City street fight. Then at Fastlane the following month, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso would win the championships from Priest and Balor, only to lose it back to that exact same tag team 9 days later on the October 16, 2023 episode of Raw. The tag team championships would be separated for good at WrestleMania 40 Night 1 in a 6-pack tag team ladder match for both sets of tag team championships, where whoever retrieved the Raw Tag Team Championships would be the Raw Tag Team Champions, and whoever brought down the SmackDown Tag Team titles would be the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. 8-Town Down Under, being Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, would retrieve the SmackDown Tag Team titles, while Awesome Truth, being The Miz and The Miz and R-Truth, would retrieve the Raw Tag Team Championships, thus finally separating these championships once for all. And then 13 days later, the SmackDown Tag Team Championships would be renamed the WWE Tag Team Championships, the same name as the SmackDown exclusive Tag Team Championships that happened from 2002 until 2009, but do not share the same lineage of the Tag Team Championships that happened around the time of the unification back in the day. So no shared lineage here, and they are finally giving new designs overall, similar to the Tag Team title designs that we saw for both different kinds that we saw around 2002 for both shows, retiring the SmackDown Tag Team Championship name going forward. So yeah, pretty long period. The one thing I can at least say that was, at least we didn't see more than one vacancy with the history of this championship within the course of 7.5 years. But I mean, I think still one criticism we gotta still give is the design of the belts, because they still maintain that whole penny, like, coin type of design for the plates. And all they did really to differentiate from there between that and the Raw Tag Team titles was just a different strap color, which was nothing special. Same design, just color swaps. Nothing to really boast home about. And you still couldn't say you were going for the gold like back then because these weren't gold championships. So at least now with these redesigns, these championships have different looks. They have different feels to them. They have their own identities. Thank goodness. I can applaud them for that. So anyway, let me know y'all in the comment section below. What did you all think about this entire run of the SmackDown Tag Team Championships from when they were introduced after SummerSlam 2016 up until their recent redesign / rebranding just after WrestleMania 40 Night 1? Let me know what y'all thought in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's episode, please remember, leave a like, subscribe with the bell, turn on if you're listening to this on YouTube, or follow if you're listening to this podcast on any other service that the podcast is available on, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thanks for listening, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, and good day, everybody.